Launch is a series of short videos and curated resources to support and equip ministry leaders for the important work that God calls us to, the work of growing in love of God and neighbor, and the transformation of today's world.
The topic of this episode is creating hybrid ministry. I'm Tanya Campen.
I'm Christine Hides.
And I'm Kathy Pittenger, and we're your launch team.
Before we launch into this episode, we like to warm up with a playful question. Today, I'm wondering, what helps you find balance? For me, I love to be outside, and I am a runner. And so I try to take a few days every week just to get outside. Right now it's early in the morning and it's starting to cool off here in Texas. So just to get outside and to run, and that's where I just am able to do some thinking and just releasing of anything that I'm holding on to. And so it helps me find a balance between working all the time and having some fun.
Yeah, I'm very similar, Tanya. Walking for me, I'm not a runner, but walking for me has been a place that I've been able to find balance during COVID. I think I've worn out an entire pair of hiking boots, but just the act of being outside, being able to take deep breaths. I have a socially distant walking companion, and we can share the joys of and sorrows of life. It's just been really wonderful to have that practice.
Yeah, I'm the same. I love going for walks, and especially during COVID, we found some rhythms around making sure that we get outside, trying to get outside during the workday so that we're not cooped up inside, and taking advantage of that for as long as possible because I live in Michigan and the cold is coming. But another thing that helps me to find balance is making sure that I close my office door when I'm done working for the day. Since we're home, it gives me a visual reminder that I am off to be with family and I can put work out of mind for a bit.
Great, thank you. You know, balance is such an important topic right now, and I think it's really helpful to remember that balance is a process and things are not going to be equal all the time. But instead, we are seeking to manage life with intentionality, with grace, and with care. And we have been using an image of a teeter-totter to help us understand this work. So balanced on our Y, our teeter-totter symbolizes the shift between online and gathered ministry. It reminds us of the work that we are called to do as we seek to create hybrid ministry. So ministry spaces and experiences that are created online alongside those created in person in the gathered community. So the image of the teeter-totter reminds us that this work requires some flexibility and some fluidity as we move back and forth from one to the other. The goal is not to create an exact balance, but instead to make sure that there are opportunities to engage in both forms of ministry and faith formation. So to start off thinking about hybrid ministry, you've probably heard the words asynchronous and synchronous. They're pretty common words during this pandemic, but just as a brief refresher, asynchronous refers to learning activities that are self-paced or kind of, I call them DIY in our church. So it's something that you can do in your own time and on your own. Where synchronous activities are those where you are gathered together either online or in person at the same time, learning and growing together.
Thanks, Christine. And there are many, many, many different types of methods and models for teaching that can guide the ministries that we create for hybrid ministry. One is an extended ministry, which is extending an individual's learning beyond the gathered community. If you're in person, it could be to teach a new practice or song or prayer. And then at home, an invitation to do that every day, practice that every day. And then virtually, inviting people to share their experiences with one another. Another possibility is flipping the program or flipping the classroom. And this is an instructional approach that encourages individual learning and utilizes gathered groups for application and engagement. So the individual may learn something first and then gather together to talk about it. And Christine has an example that she's going to share from her church.
Sure, thank you. So our third grade year is a big milestone year for us where children memorize certain scripture passages, and they've been doing that for decades. And so this year, that group is meeting online only, most of them. And so I am creating short videos. They're usually about 6 to 7 minutes long for the children to watch before they gather online. And then during that online time, they are doing activities, they're looking things up in the Bible, they're connecting with one another, trying to make it as interactive as possible. But the content piece is that video beforehand. So that's one of the ways we're flipping the classroom right now.
Thanks, Christine. Another method is online programming. So this is content that's only online, webinars, streaming presentations, using apps and tools like Amplify and all kinds of different ways of online things. And these are great options for teaching parents or families in the community about faith formation. And also you can do Sunday school classes using this. They provide content and then create a gathered space for reflection and sharing of best practices. And then a fourth type is a multi-format programming. So these could be playlists that have curated content. And when I say playlist, I'm not talking like the Spotify playlist. I'm talking a curated list of resources around a specific topic or theme that can be used online at home. And it can be flexible enough that you may have some things that are digital, but there may be some things that are off screen to give families a balance that are trying to get off screen too. And you can also invite participation in a gathered follow-up experience from playlists also.
Thanks, Kathy. No matter what teaching model or approach you use, creating a hybrid ministry provides the opportunity for fluidity as we move from online to in-person. We move from one to the other with ease and care. When we gather for worship, we are called in, and then we are gathered, and then we are sent forth. It is in this coming in and going out process that helps pattern our day and our weeks and our work. We breathe in and we breathe out. We gather and we are sent forth. The teeter-totter gently moves up and down as we move from those online experiences to the gathered in-person community. And through it all, as we move up and down together, we experience joy of being together and connecting to God and one another. And I know, Kathy, you have a really great example of what this can look like.
Yeah, thanks, Tanya. One of the churches that I work with has created a model where the lesson is provided asynchronously. So it's recorded ahead of time, and the kids who come for in-person Sunday school focus more on relationship. So they might show part of that video, but the focus is really on relationship and caring for one another. And then the folks who are meeting online only have Zoom meetings where they will meet. And again, the focus is more on relationship. And they can refer back to the asynchronous lesson, but the focus during that piece is on the relationship. So it's a really nice balance between asynchronous and synchronous and content and relationship.
Thanks, Kathy. That's really helpful to think about that balance of online and gathered, and to think about how we're building relationships, especially in today's time, and then also how we're helping to increase learning too. All important pieces of our work as faith formation leaders, for sure. There are a lot of possibilities as you start to imagine what hybrid ministry will look like in your context. Remember, The goal is to move from online to gathered with fluidity and care. We need them both. And we lean on our why alongside current realities as we try to decide what we and when we should offer online options, and when and how we can offer safe in-person options. It's in this process that we ride the teeter-totter. We move up and we move down. We breathe in and we breathe out. We gather and we are sent forth. And through it all, God is with us as we move through the life cycle with fluidity together.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Launch. Be sure to check out the full playlist on launchfaith.com. Join us for conversation about launch and all things launch on Vibrant Faith Catalyst. In our next playlist, we are going to talk about connection and curriculum.